So, Jungkook, the Golden Magne, finally gave us his highly anticipated debut solo album, Golden. And after all the hype, what did we get? A glossy, westernized, Spotify core playlist that feels more like a showcase of great producers than an actual Jungkook album. Yes, the production? Top tier. No denying that. But the biggest issue with Golden? It's so generic, it could have been sung by literally any male pop artist from the last 10 years. There's barely a glimpse of Jungkook's personality. And the worst part? This man gave us Still With You, an ethereal, personal, intimate track that had depth. Nothing on this album even comes close. 3D opens the album with a polished, retro-funk sheen, clearly aiming for early 2000s Justin Timberlake vibes, but instead ends up feeling more like a copy-paste job than an original track. Jungkook's vocals are drowned in auto-tune and digital gloss, stripping them of any warmth or texture. Jack Harlow's verse, flat and uninspired, adds nothing but surface-level swagger. The song lacks a personal touch and comes off like an algorithmic attempt to make a hit, rather than a genuine artistic expression. With Major Lazer on board, Closer to You leans into tropical pop territory, a sound that feels tired and dated rather than fresh. It's sonically pleasant, but Jungkook's presence gets completely lost behind the beachy, generic production. His voice, again, is overly processed, with no room to breathe or emote. The lyrics offer nothing new, just a bland, vague desire to be closer to someone. This track could have been sung by any pop star in 2016, and no one would notice the difference. 7 was already familiar as a pre-release single, and while it's catchy, it leans too heavily on a repetitive hook and a cheeky sexual concept that quickly wears thin. The production is slick and radio-friendly, but the writing feels shallow, and Latto's feature is jarringly out of sync with Jungkook's tone. Even though the vocals are slightly more natural here, the song feels more like a TikTok marketing exercise than a meaningful piece of music. This track attempts to channel Michael Jackson's disco-funk spirit with infectious grooves and tight instrumentation. The production is undoubtedly top tier, but the problem lies in how performative it feels, like Jungkook is imitating rather than interpreting. The vocals are technically clean, but emotionally vacant, and the song, while stylish, lacks any substance or personal identity. It's a flashy centerpiece that doesn't say much. A minimalistic beat and dreamy synths back, Yes or No, a song that floats by without leaving any impact. Jungkook's delivery is emotionless and monotone, as if he's reading lyrics off a screen rather than living them. There's no build-up, no climax, just a 2.5-minute loop of vague yearning. It's not bad, but it's completely forgettable, and in an already personality-starved album, that's a problem. This one had potential, a ballad-y, emotionally driven track with restrained production from DJ Snake, but once again, Jungkook's vocals are processed into oblivion. The song could have been a moment of vulnerability, but the emotion is sterilized, and the lyrics don't dig deep enough to land. It feels more like background music for a moody fragrance commercial than a personal plea from an artist with something to say. Hate You comes closest to being emotionally resonant, carried by a soft acoustic backdrop that finally gives Jungkook room to breathe. It's one of the only moments on the album where his voice sounds relatively untouched. Unfortunately, the writing is so simplistic and repetitive that it still doesn't land the way it should. The line "I hate you" loses its sting by the second chorus, and what could have been a heartbreaking ballad turns into another missed opportunity. The next track is called Somebody. This track sounds like a lesser version of something Troye Sivan or Charlie Puth would put out. Synth-heavy, mid-tempo, and emotionally muted, Somebody tries to create atmosphere but fails to connect. Jungkook's voice lacks any unique character here, buried under layers of effects, and the lyrics feel like filler pulled from a songwriter's recycling bin. It's forgettable in every sense. Then we have Too Sad to Dance. There's an attempt here to fuse melancholy lyrics with an upbeat 80s-style synth-pop beat, but the execution feels formulaic and clean to a fault. Jungkook's vocals are once again emotionless, smoothed out to the point of erasure. The contrast between the lyrics and production could have worked if there was some vocal edge or genuine sadness, but the track ends up sounding like a knockoff of Robin without the emotional depth. Shot Glass of Tears is the closing ballad, has the most promising production on the album, moody, cinematic, and intimate, but it's undermined by overly pristine vocals that sap the soul out of the song. There's finally a metaphor to hold on to, but the track never builds into anything impactful. For what should have been an emotional climax or reflection, it fades away quietly and unmemorably, like the album itself. Golden is a frustratingly safe debut that plays to Western pop formulas instead of highlighting who Jung Kook is as an artist. Every song is well-produced, but over-engineered to the point of being soulless. There's almost no sign of the Jung Kook who gave us Still With You. The intimacy, vulnerability, or even the experimentation are completely absent. Instead, we get a collection of tracks that could have been sung by any male pop artist from the last decade. The decision to record the entire album in English ultimately flattened his artistry, and while the producers did their job, the lack of originality, authenticity, and vocal identity make Golden feel more like fool's gold than a true debut. Jung Kook deserves better than this. If you loved Golden, I totally get it. It's great to dance to, it sounds expensive, and Jung Kook's vocals are always technically strong. But as a debut solo album, it left me wanting more. Less auto-tune, less imitation, and more Jung Kook. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next deep dive.